Hello, and welcome to my final case study presentation. For this case study, I decided to choose McDonald's and their E. coli outbreak crisis that happened earlier this year. So for an overview of the E. coli outbreak incident, in September, people started to become sick from eating at McDonald's. The cause of this sickness was E. coli found in the slivered onions used in their McDoubles. 104 people were infected from 14 states. However, the CDC says that likely way more people in total were affected. And at least 34 people went to the hospital, with 4 people developing a serious condition in their kidneys. However, not included in the 4 people, somebody out of all the people that were infected, one person died. So the entire incident started on September 12th when the first person reported that they were sick. It took an entire 12 days later, but one more person reported that they were sick. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, alerted the public to the outbreak on October 22nd. So what is E. coli? And put into a public health context. According to the Cleveland Clinic, E. coli is a group of bacteria that can cause infections in your gut, urinary tract, and other parts of your body. Some strains can make you sick with watery diarrhea, vomiting, and a fever. E. coli infections are when E. coli ends up in places that it's not supposed to be. Some E. coli is helpful for your body, and other times it can travel to other places, like your urinary tract infection or your kidney, where it can harm you. For the most common strain, there are about 265,000 infections each year in just the United States alone. You usually develop symptoms within 3 to 5 days after consuming foods contaminated with the bacteria, but certain strains are known to make you sick within hours. E. coli is also contagious, and it's typically transferred from unwashed hands or caring from someone that's infected. Treatment for E. coli includes receiving fluids to prevent dehydration and, in severe cases, antibiotics. However, typically there is no treatment needed and people heal on their own. To address the consumer health and safety concerns, the CDC came out with some information. According to them, the outbreak was considered severe. Along with the CDC, other federal bodies investigated it, including the Food and Drug Administration and the United States Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service. They all found that the strain of E. coli produces toxins that cause severe and potentially deadly illnesses, along with some symptoms like bloody diarrhea, severe stomach cramps, and vomiting, like we discussed earlier. The CDC's initial alert, along with the information in the image to the right, gave 4 simple steps to follow to prevent getting sick from E. coli. So number 1 is wash your hands, utensils, and surfaces often. Number 2 is keep food that won't be cooked separate from raw meat. You should also, for number 3, use a food thermometer to ensure thorough, safe cooking temperatures. And finally, for number 4, refrigerate perishable food within 2 hours after cooking. They also said that most people recover without treatment after 5 to 7 days. This also fell on McDonald's at a very poor time. As you can see in the image on the right, a popular American figurehead was featured on October 22nd in McDonald's cooking food for customers. So after the release of the news, users on X pointed out the irony of this person serving food in the same day that the popular chain reported the outbreak. And if you can't tell, that's Donald Trump during the election season against Kamala Harris. Users even likened the situation to COVID-19 and going as far as calling the event of the E. coli outbreak part of the plandemic. Some other social media posts that don't revolve around Donald Trump are from big outlets like the New York Post and CBS News that reported the outbreak on sites like X and Instagram. You can see the CBS Mornings on the top left. On X, most of the discussions ended up political and divisive, and there were very little posts and interactions on Facebook. The best one that I could find was on the bottom left. You can see a post from a local news outlet. On October 22nd, McDonald's released their first statement. After the CDC and FDA closed their investigations, the McDonald's USA president went on Good Morning America to discuss McDonald's next steps. However, initially they said that our commitment will never change to always do the right thing. We are taking swift and decisive actions following an E. coli outbreak in certain states. All local restaurants have been instructed to remove this product from their supply, and we have paused the distribution of all slivered onions in the impacted areas. In the meantime, all other menu items are unaffected and available. On October 25th, they also released another statement. Slivered onions from Taylor's farm facility in Colorado Springs are the likely source of contamination. Slivered onions from this facility were distributed to approximately 900 McDonald's restaurants. The president of McDonald's USA said that nothing is more important to us than the quality and safety of our food. So from the government, I mentioned earlier, but I wanted to dive a little bit more deep into this. The FDA released some information on the cause, symptoms, stores affected, and status of the outbreak, recommendation, and current update as of December 3rd. The USDA FSIS conducted a thorough investigation in response to this outbreak, including a traceback of beef patties served to quarter pounders at McDonald's, and their evidence did not point to ground beef being the likely source of contamination. And I wanted to point out this map from the CDC. CDC was pretty much spearheading this entire outbreak's investigation, but this map showed the number of sick people in different states, with Colorado and Montana being the most affected. I also wanted to highlight the social media posts that I discovered on my own. This is how I learned about the outbreak myself. McDonald's sponsored or advertised this to me, but this goes over their transparency with the customers. So it says, what we know is that you can safely and confidently eat at McDonald's. What we've done: last week we took immediate action to remove slivered onions used on our quarter pounder burgers from a small number of restaurants. These onions came from a single facility in Colorado, which supplied to us and to others. What we're doing is we're getting back to serving you quarter pounder burgers. After temporarily pausing sales of quarter pounder burgers in certain restaurants, they're coming back. In some restaurants, they'll temporarily be served without slivered onions. And a commitment to our fans. You can count on McDonald's to always do the right thing, publicly and privately. On behalf of the McDonald's system, we are sorry. To those who want more information, head to our newsroom. The post continues on to be in Spanish. However, for the most part, this was a very thorough and good post to just cut to the chase about what's happening, and McDonald's did apologize in this post, which is good. To trace the source of contamination, McDonald's worked alongside government agencies, found that 63 out of 81 people that were interviewed by state and local health officials recalled consuming a menu item containing fresh slivered onions. Taylor Farms was the supplier of the onions for the locations, and they voluntarily recalled yellow onions on October 22nd. And beef testing from different laboratories reported negative for E. coli, as I mentioned earlier. However, at first it wasn't really sure where the cause was from. McDonald's did a little bit of operational changes and preventative measures following the outbreak, including stopping using the onions in the affected states, and they stopped sourcing the onions from the Taylor Farms Colorado Spring facility indefinitely. McDonald's also temporarily moved the quarter pounder from the menu in some states, and other states were often sold without the onions. McDonald's highlighted its food safety protocols, including daily temperature checks on the food that was cooked and hourly hand washing for employees. I also wanted to address some of McDonald's corporate social responsibility initiatives. Although this isn't directly tied to this incident right now, I will get into that. So for May 22nd, 2018, McDonald's stated on their website that we're always looking for ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle. We know that every little bit helps. But on their impact report for 2023 to 2024, they said, our purpose is to feed and foster communities. We believe it's our responsibility to make a positive impact on the world. McDonald's decided to use some of their money after this incident happened to go to marketing, though. With $100 million in marketing investment to bring customers back to stores. What I did like about this is that $65 million of their money will go to the hardest hit franchises. McDonald's also advertised that they're releasing a 10-piece chicken McNuggets deal for $1, and they extended the $5 meal deal, which will help people that cannot afford more expensive McDonald's items as often. And the president of the company, Joe Erlinger, appeared on the Today Show to reassure customers. So, McDonald's CSR goals are animal health and welfare and responsible antibiotic use, climate action, nature, forests, and water, diversity, equity, and inclusion, packaging, toys, and waste, and community impact and philanthropy. I wanted to address McDonald's consumer concerns, how they listen to them, and specifically through a Good Morning America video with their president. So this is a short clip. I can play it.
We need to continue to actually rebuild trust with consumers because, like I said, we let people down. And so, the work to do that will be ongoing. Food safety at McDonald's is actually everybody's business. We make it our priority in our headquarters. It's a priority in our nearly 13,500 restaurants. It's a priority across our supplier facilities. And so the work is not done, like I said, and we will focus on food safety.
Is it harder now? You and I were just watching Rebecca talk about that cucumber outbreak, the salmonella outbreak with cucumbers. Are we seeing more of this now, and what more can we do?
I think there's better reporting and better availability of data, so I think that is part of what's happening. What we at McDonald's do, though, is we partner closely and collaborate closely with the CDC and FDA. Obviously, the American public counts on a really strong and safe food system in the U.S., and we think the partnership with public health authorities for companies like McDonald's can contribute towards that. We need to continue to
So finally, I wanted to evaluate the crisis response effectiveness from McDonald's. I didn't think McDonald's did much wrong in this entire incident. In fact, they handled most things pretty well. My only critique is they could have released information a little bit more quickly. However, there wasn't much information that came out on a daily basis because the investigations were being conducted privately by federal investigators. So first off, what McDonald's did good was they immediately released what they know and what they are doing about the crisis. They published videos of the president of the U.S. branch apologizing and making a commitment directly to the customers, as well as several videos I have discussed throughout this presentation. They worked with federal agencies to protect customers, and they posted consistent updates about the outbreak. However, like I mentioned, not as often as I would have liked to see. McDonald's also offered on their websites resources on how to stay healthy, including links to different organizations and websites about how to wash your hands and cook food properly. And finally, McDonald's invested $100 million to restaurant recovery. I was a little critical earlier about this, but it is good that it does help owners of different franchises that were hit directly with the incident and will help them recover. That was my presentation for McDonald's E. coli outbreak, and thank you for watching.